Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Lower Makefield Township Ad Hoc Property Committee meeting. My name is Dennis Stedman. I'm the chair of the committee. We have a quorum at this time, so we're going to get started, even though we expect some others to be joining us in process. We have a busy agenda tonight. We're so glad that you're joining us. Public participation is always key and important. So please, we appreciate your tuning in and following these projects. We think they'll have a big impact on the Lower Makefield community in a positive way. With that, I'd like to call the meeting to order. The first, I'm gonna share my screen. So can everyone see that adequately? Tonight's agenda?
Yes.
The first order of business, we want to approve the minutes that were distributed, the minutes from January 5th and January 12th meetings. I know those meetings were reviewed by Beth, the secretary, who cannot be with us tonight, and distributed to all members. So I ask, are there any, first, the January 5th meeting minutes, are there any changes, corrections, or edits to those minutes?
No.
Hearing none, I'd ask for a motion to approve the January 5th minutes as distributed.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of approving January 5?
Aye.
Say aye. Aye. Thank you. Same routine for the 12th, the minutes of the 12th. Are there any edits, corrections, or modifications to those minutes? Hearing none, I'd ask for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of approving the January 12th minutes as distributed, say aye.
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 Thank you very much. All right. Well, we got that housekeeping out of the way. We talked the next subject, decision making policies and practices. We talked about this at our last meeting, and we drafted a policy and circulated that to the committee for review and discussion. This is let me just move a couple things around on my screen so I can see that. There are eight elements to this decision-making process. I put this in the category of this committee and this team of volunteers maturing as a team and becoming more effective, efficient, and transparent in our decision making, and that does nothing but instill confidence. So I appreciate everyone's attention on this. Let me just ask, first of all, any comments, questions, suggestions regarding these eight principles? I see some nose shaking. Without going through them in detail, I think. Go ahead, Jim.
I just coughed. Sorry.
Very good. Thank you. Well, thanks to Zoom, you lit up. The fifth item, I think, is in my estimation, at least, the most important, just to highlight, and that is that the fourth and the fifth, that we really as a group strive to reach consensus before making important decisions, and the definition of consensus, I think, is worth citing. It means that all opinions have been heard, those opinions have been understood, and they've been considered. While 100% agreement is not always achievable, we can achieve 100% listening, 100% understanding, 100% consideration, and acceptance. I think that's important. And once a decision is made, members will strive to fully support that decision. That's that's how effective boards, effective committees, effective teams move together. And I'm pleased that this committee wants to adopt this kind of behavior. If there's no further discussion, and I'm open to further discussion, is there a motion to approve these principles and practices as presented in this January 15th draft?
Certainly, I'll make a motion to approve the decision-making principles and practices.
Thank you, Ron. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, John. All those in favor of adopting these principles, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Okay, that'll be our marching orders going forward. We will finalize these, attach them to the minutes of this meeting, and I will circulate them asking for signatures from the committee members so that we're all on board. I think that's consistent. So I appreciate that support. Let me go to the next item. The master plan contractor selection. Jennifer, our project manager, is going to lead this discussion, and by the end we need to be ready to vote officially. We took a straw poll last meeting, but it was just that, a straw poll, and tonight we'll hopefully reach concurrence and consensus. So Jennifer, let me turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We're going to go through item 4 here on the agenda. The first topic is Forward Planning, Inc. During our discussion with Seiler Drury, they mentioned the merits of having a market analysis done for the sake of learning about the best and highest uses for the site based on what the area could bear, what the area could use, what the interests are of local potential partners, profit or nonprofit. And we saw the merit in that as well. This kind of information would help inform the architectural team as to potential uses, and in turn that would help them evaluate the actual structure or the site based on those potential uses. As you can imagine, different uses require different physical characteristics to a structure. Having a better idea of what could be appropriate and the highest and best effect for the township will help determine how you evaluate. Therefore, we took their recommendation, reached out to Forward Planning, had them prepare a proposal to do that market analysis. And Seiler Drury said that they could manage this effort, or the township could consider managing it separately. The committee feels that having Forward Planning folded into the AE effort so that they are being managed by the architects who are leading the team will give us a better synergy of results, meaning that the architects—
Jennifer, can I just pause on that point?
Sure.
I want to be sure that we do have consensus on that point, that in this market analysis to have it coordinated by our architectural project leads. Is there any debate there by anyone? Okay, thank you. Just wanted to seal that off. Thank you.
Sure. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. So the result is that Forward Planning, which incidentally had been an alternate service that Seiler Drury had included in their original proposal, is folded into the Seiler Drury cost. So we have a full package of consultants who will be working with the architect as the lead. Their efforts will be concurrent and complement each other so that the architects get the information that they need in a timely manner so that everything is moving forward appropriately. That being said, we move to item B B, which is the timing and the integration with the Silo Jewelry project, which is what I've kind of just went through. Silo Jewelry will start their initial work, which is survey.
Before we jump to that, can we just talk a minute about the scope of what they're looking at in terms of market? I had the impression, I maybe have a false impression, but it seemed to be geared towards retail when I read through it. And I had sent a comment back saying that I think we should open up the thinking about what potential uses could be. And I definitely would like to include education as one of those, because I mean, AOI, of course, already has an educational mandate and they're already there. And Patterson Farm Preservation has put together a number of different ideas in their plan for education around agricultural purposes. So I would definitely like to make sure that's included. But beyond that, my question is how do we set the scope for things they could potentially look at? They mentioned spas and things like that. And that was my question is, do we leave it as wide open as that? Do we really see that as an appropriate use for Patterson Farm?
I think we leave it as wide open as possible. That way we get the full breadth of the possibilities. We can always whittle it down on a later point. To me, to get the most options is what we're looking for, to see how we can make this as good of an asset as we can for the township.
Jennifer, were you about to respond to that as well?
Well, one of the things that you do in your kickoff with the consultants is reinforce our mission, which is the three-pronged mission that you've always set forth with. That helps inform them about where your interests and your real positives are. And I agree that that looking at a full breadth is very informative for us, but we also have to stick to the core mission. So you do guide your consultant a little bit so that they have some direction and are not running down a tangent that just doesn't work for what our ultimate goal is.
So then the appropriate time for me to bring up my not concerns, but where I think they should be looking would be during that kickoff meeting. Is that what you're saying, Jennifer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. You lay the groundwork right there at the very beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, and I agree with what's been said. I mean, we should be very broad. We should cast the net as wide as we can to get new ideas. It doesn't mean they need to be accepted or that they fit, but at the same time, given the priorities that have been defined for the property, three clear priorities, I'm sure that will limit them a bit. I mean, they're not going to consider an amusement park, right? I mean, that's
Right.
So it does. Our priorities provide some boundaries, but I'm happy to see it fairly broad. And the timing. I know there was debate about the timing of the market assessment that's needed before before we can determine what some of the uses of the buildings would be. You need to know the condition of the buildings to understand what some of the potential uses could be. There's there's an argument on both sides of that kind of timing debate. I think this is our time and place to have that discussion and have that debate and get comfortable with the way this is folded together.
Okay, I was leaving a pause in case the committee had comments on that. Item C is the final recommendation to the Board of Supervisors, and this is not.
I guess I'm sorry. I thought we were going to. The only question I have in the timing, I do like the fact that they brought it up early, but I was just wondering, in the forward planning, I think they had mentioned 2 public meetings, and then we had a discussion with Silo Jewelry about 3 public meetings. And is it clear to us how are those public meetings being combined now, or are we having 5 in total? And I just wasn't sure by looking at the schedule how that was going to work.
I wish you'd posed this question and we could have gotten a definitive answer for you from Doug. I'm leaving Doug in charge of how we get these meetings pulled together and whether they participate in all of them or forward planning does some on their own. Is that what you're talking about? Siler
Yes.
Drury conducting and forward planning conducting? Yeah. That's why it's good that Siler is in charge of their consultant forward planning, because they really are not autonomous anymore. They're a team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I might suggest on that point that I think we need to be flexible and not lock ourselves into any specific amount of public hearings. I think as we go along, we're going to learn. It may be we get through 2 public hearings and we decide we need 2 more or 1 more or 3 more. So I would just suggest that we be flexible and see how things develop over time.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's going to be a dynamic process. In my mind, these activities, the architectural engineering and the market assessment are truly iterative or simultaneous equations. I mean, you know, I spent the first 10 years of my career solving simultaneous equations as an economist. It makes my head hurt to go back to that. I'd never want to, but this truly is a simultaneous kind of solution. We have to learn. Both sides of that equation have to learn, compare, share. It's a back and forth, and so from my way of thinking, that integration under one umbrella, under the Siler Drury umbrella, is what gives us the highest probability of success in achieving those kinds of solutions. I think that it's worth it. And Ron's raising a good point in terms of contingencies. We have the final budget for this project as it's defined, but as we get into it, we may find there are contingencies like in this case additional meetings or some unforeseen situation where we can really enrich the results with one more element. So in our recommendations to the Board of Supervisors, I think it would make sense to put in some contingency buffer to that estimate. I'd ask Jim Majewski with the township, as you've looked at these kinds of proposals or projects in the past, is that standard fare? Is that unusual? How does the township typically approach those kinds of things with contingencies?
You're referring to a contingency on the total cost?
Yes.
Yeah. I think in this case, I think the proposal is pretty well defined, and anything that is extra is going to be something that would probably have to be approved by the board as a matter of course.
I see. Okay. So if something is justified, comes up and it's above and beyond, we would take that to the board specifically and get their approval. Okay. All right. That's fine. All right. I'm sorry. Jennifer, back to you.
Well, the next item is C, the final recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. I do have the leveling sheet, which is basically a breakdown of the best and final proposal from Doug Siler. Would you like me to share my screen?
Please.
Okay.
So I have to stop, right?
I think I can just hit share screen.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so let's see, we've got here the base fee of $75,400. And then we have a selection of alternates. We struck the National Register nomination. We will not be accepting that from them. We have the additional fee for documentation of the other buildings beside the three primary ones that we've identified in the base scope. That's $3,800. We've got 3 public meetings, the market analysis with forward planning, and then there's a management fee for Seiler Drury to manage forward planning's effort. So the total fee down here is $113,900. I think that there was going to be discussion about the additional architectural documentation.
Just, Jennifer, just for those who aren't as close to this as some of us, this base fee of $75,400, could you just remind us what the competitive bid was on a like basis comparative to that $75,400? Or maybe Candace has that. I don't know.
I'm looking through my files and I'll let you guys know in just a second.
Okay, thank you.
You're talking about in comparison to Colony Hickey, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Give me 1 second, please.
I mean, in part, it wasn't only the nature and scope of the proposal that led us to narrow to this contractor, but also the price. The price differential was very significant, and we thought the quality was better. So that's a nice combo. Do you have that?
Yep, I have it pulled up. So Colony Hickey's base fee for what S&D offers, theirs was $134,700 compared to S&D's $75,400.
Right. Yeah, it's about 90% more. So that's just as a point of reference. And when Jennifer says we are not, we struck the $10,000 cost associated with the application of the National Registry listing. Just to be clear for those who may not have seen prior meetings, we are moving ahead with that. But the township and the historical commission is put themselves in a position to do that themselves. So we do not need to spend those monies with this consulting firm, and so we're striking that. But that doesn't mean we're not pursuing that initiative, because we are. Okay.
1 or 2 questions here. Number one, has the Board of Supervisors at least been briefed somewhat that we're coming in with these kinds of numbers, or potentially coming in with these kinds of numbers, or will this be new to the Board of Supervisors?
I don't really know how to answer that, but to the extent that we already, had allocated some money to the whole process,
Yeah.
you're within it.
Okay.
So.
And then just one other comment on that. Quite often I can remember using outside consultants, and when we went to senior management, we would put at the end of it a plus 10% or minus 10% in the total. Just for the sake of discussion here tonight, should we put, when we advance this to the Board of Supervisors, should we say either plus 10% or minus 10% on the total?
Jim, I think that's the question that Dennis had just asked Jim earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, basically their cost proposal is a not to exceed. So not to exceed fixed fee. So I think they think that they'll be able to do it within that cost, unless we start adding scope of services, in which case we should have the Board of Supervisors authorize that expanded scope.
So there are pretty specific rules about how the board can expend money, Ron. And
Okay.
Given the totality of this, if this is the proposal you go with, this will be what's approved. And if more is needed, then a separate action will be taken by the board, which I'm
Okay.
confident
Thank you.
will be supported.
Okay. Yeah. And Joe, I don't know if you had seen my email from earlier today asking about the item that's $3,800 for additional architectural documentation of the rest of the buildings. Did you see that email?
I did, yes, Dennis.
And Joe, maybe at the risk of a bit of a tangent, why don't you describe for everyone what the opportunity we have with Bucks County Community College, and then we'll come back to how that might impact this fee.
Bucks County Community College, as part of their historic preservation program, has a course called documentation. And the objective of that course is to teach students how to document historic buildings, either for rehabilitation or restoration, or even just to document them should they be demolished, so that they have a record of them. Part of that documentation is photographic, part of it is drawings. There was a request made by the college to the township if they could use Patterson Farm as for their field study. They're going to conduct 3 sessions on Saturday mornings, and we've been coordinating with with Dennis and now with Jim Majewski in terms of getting them access to do that. I guess the question that I have, and the reason I wasn't able to respond, Dennis, was when I read through the proposal, maybe Jennifer can help us understand. I think the base proposal called for, I'm not an expert at this, elevation drawings, and then for the others, they were just going to do sketches. And I guess my understanding of this additional fee is they were going to do a full set of both interior and exterior elevations. Jennifer, could you help us understand what the additional fees for?
Sure. The 3 base buildings are going to have elevations, exterior elevations, and floor plans prepared.
Right.
We asked for the additional buildings to have the same thing, exterior elevations and floor plans. So Seiler Drury said that they can do the rest of the buildings for $3,800, and they'll do the surveys the same days that they're doing the 3 primary structures.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
So Joe, is that duplicative with what you understand Bucks County Community College, admittedly students, will be doing? I just want to be sure we get the most out of this opportunity as we can.
Dennis, it would surprise me if this, based on the size of that class, they can do all those structures.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. And that they would have the tools also, right, for producing the plans. I mean,
Right.
A lot of the drawings that the class will do will be hand drawings, right?
Okay.
So I would say it's not duplicate. No, in
Right.
fact, what I'll work with that documentation team on is actually producing the information that we need for the National Register submission.
Right. Yeah, it needs to be official by a qualified professional, I guess, not by students, but
Yeah.
All right. I just wanted to look under every stone.
Right.
So I would say, having taught historic preservation students, this is a wonderful opportunity for them. And I think that we could actually ask Doug if his team would be willing to participate in the class's presentation of their work and have a real life kind of charrette / judging, which is very common. And the students could hear from the people who actually surveyed the very same structures, how they approached it, and hear feedback. It would be wonderful.
Okay. Thanks, Jennifer. Thank you, Jennifer. I'll talk to the instructor about that.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Great idea. Okay. Are there other elements in this table that we want to discuss or pick apart?
I mean, I would just say that there is some overlap between the market analysis study and one of the tasks. I think it's task 3. And it wasn't clear to me that Seiler Drury may have been doing that, anticipating that we weren't going to have a market analysis study. And now that we're having that might, but I mean, again, I don't know if it's possible to break that out in terms of actual costs. And since they're managing the whole project, I guess they'll work on the deliverables being correct.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. My impression, again, impression was that the market analysis would enrich that step 3 or option 3 as much, not necessarily substitute for it, but just make it that much more in depth or enriched. But that was my read. I know the point you're making.
Yeah.
Is there other discussion on making this recommendation to the Board of Supervisors? The total project then, as defined here, is $113,900. It would result, according to the timeline, in a comprehensive master plan by September of this year. We have, it seems, a good working dialogue with the organization, with Seller Drury as and Jennifer's historical relationship in terms of professional working together. I think it feels like we should be in a good position to get a lot out of this. Obviously, it's still a lot of work for the committee and everyone else involved. They are not building a master plan for us. They're providing us the information, architectural, engineering, market, etc., and guiding us professionally through that process. But it's still this committee's work to finalize and to make the judgment calls with community input and involvement to finalize a master plan. But is everyone on board with this, making this recommendation?
Yes.
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 If there's no more further discussion, I would make a motion that the committee approve going forward to the Board of Supervisors meeting scheduled for February 15th with a formal recommendation that we contract with Seller Drury and their various subcontractors as specified in their proposal and has been revised to a total of $113,900. And Jennifer and I would make that presentation to the Board of Supervisors. That's a motion to approve that plan. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Very good. Ron, we can't see you, but I'm presuming you're saying aye, right?
Yes, aye. I'm in.
Thank you. Now, I know Bet and Fred are not here, and therefore they cannot vote. They both told me individually, emailed that they supported that. They support that recommendation. So it is unanimous by this committee. If everyone were here, I did not hear from Jim. So I take back the unanimity part. I forgot that Jim's not on the line. I'm pretty sure he's behind it, but I can't say that with the same certainty. So thank you all. Thank you all for that. We have, all right, let's, I think that'll wrap, whoops, that'll wrap that up. I need to share my screen again, excuse me. Okay, we're now to agenda item 5, community outreach and engagement, our new subcommittee and new subcommittee chair, Ron Schmid. Ron, I'm gonna turn the meeting over to you.
Thank you, Dennis. I'll try and be very brief. The subcommittee on community outreach and engagement had 2 meetings since our last ad hoc meeting. One was, and the members are Bet, Fred and Jim. We met by Zoom on February 1st to have kind of an organizational meeting. And then on February 8th at the Artists of Yardley, we had a great meeting, which I'll tell you about, with Monica Tierney and with Jim Majewski. But first, you know, what should be our job here? And I'll be a little formal about articulating this, but I hope you get the point. The objective of the subcommittee, and then I'm going to ask, obviously, for your comments. The objective of the subcommittee is to inform and educate residents of Lower Makefield Township on the recommendations and processes adopted by the Ad Hoc Property Committee. And I think the point there is the processes are as important as the recommendations. That is, how we arrive at all of our recommendations in a very transparent way to the entire community is an important part of what we want to do as we go along. Strategy. So that was the objective. What's our strategy? This is very high level here, but is to develop an ongoing messaging platform targeted to key audiences in order to advance the short and long-term recommendations for these properties. Messaging. We want to continue to emphasize in all of our communications the three goals of the committee. And I'll just repeat them. You all know them, but I'll repeat it again. Is preserving agriculture and historic structures, create community utility, value, and support, and be fiscally responsible with the taxpayer money. We think that's absolutely a key message platform in everything that we communicate. Tactics. We want to send out news releases to local media. We want to populate the Patterson Farm page on the Lower Makefield website and provide ongoing communications from this committee to the Patterson Farm webpage. The audiences, as we see it, are the Lower Makefield Township residents. We also identified neighbors residing near the properties. The Board of Supervisors, we wanted to call that out, both the existing and potential candidates who will be running for election this year, and the Lower Makefield Township business community, because at some point they're going to have to probably weigh in and fund some of the activities that we're doing. So that was our first organizational meeting. I'd ask if you have questions or comments about, you know, that discussion or what we're putting forward as our mission. Comments, questions? Wow.
That sounds good to me. The only comment I would have, Ron, is in your objectives, you said something to the effect of disseminating information from the ad hoc committee. Mm-hmm. That is accurate. I'm wondering if that couldn't be refined to information regarding the Patterson Farm master plan.
Okay, sure.
Even, you know, right to the nailhead.
Yep, good point.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so our second meeting we had at the Artists of Yardley. And we focused on the processes that Parks and Rec use to create a master plan and successfully achieve the Board of Supervisors approval on 6/1/22. What we did was we had a discussion about the Play for All master plan, the public opinion survey that Monica and Jim did, and the needs assessment marketing report. Our subcommittee learned a lot from those discussions, and at some point we'll make recommendations to the full ad hoc property committee to see if these various tools are applicable to our efforts. At this point, obviously, we're still analyzing all of that and seeing how applicable it might be. But in the meantime, we have indeed come up with tentative plans in conjunction with Jim and Monica. We selected the Patterson Farm webpage in the community section of the Lower Makefield Township website as our landing page for all communications from this ad hoc committee relative to the Patterson Farm. And in that regard, both Monica and I and Jim had several discussions. So let me add a big thank you here to both Monica and Jim and all their assistance that they've given so far and that they want to continue to give and help us publish all of our documents and public information on the website. And with that, I'd ask either Monica or Jim to comment here, please.
Go ahead, Monica.
I don't know how much I have to comment on now. I'm really excited about this project. I think it's fantastic. I think what we need to keep in mind, just as I believe Dennis brought up, that information doesn't come directly from the ad hoc committee. Board of Supervisors have to approve on things before we do produce them. There could be factual content that we share along the way. And maybe items that are considered along the way, but we do have to remember that contact has to come from the township and has to come from the board's vote. So that's very important to remember as we're trying to put stuff out. So everything that comes to Jim and we will review carefully before we put it on the website. We have put some historic information. We have put some of the RFP information on the website already, and Ron and I have been discussing, Jim and I have been discussing some of the content that you'd like to include, which I'm sure Ron will share along the way with the team here. But I'm at your full disposal. I'm glad to share any information with you along the way about how to get the word out and what we did. One of the more valuable pieces of information you can use specific to the Play for All master plan is the marketing report that we do have on our website. It says, you can see what was successful, what had the most hits, from our mass email to our social media posts. Everything is on there. Our signage that we put within the parks, our press releases, letters we send out to user groups. Everything is right on our website that you can see exactly how we did our marketing for that particular project. We do a lot of community outreach in this department, so we really have a good formula for success. So if anybody has any questions for me, never hesitate to reach out.
Thank you, Monica. It's so I'm so appreciative to have your resources available. It's going to make a real difference because the community input is obviously important, obviously central to this project. Not only input to this plan, but community engagement to engage the plan and to support the initiatives that the plan may call for. Whether those initiatives are spending, the community's funds via tax dollars, or whether it's asking the community to support via fundraising, that it's just central. So welcome aboard. It's great to have you.
No problem. I'm here to help.
Great.
Jim, do you have any comments?
Well, I think you both hit the nail on the head. So this is exciting to actually put up some information that as things get moving forward, the residents could go to one spot and just find information on what's going on, and we can alert them to the public meetings when we get to that point, and point them to documents that they're hopefully will read and memorize.
One thing that would be important to share along the way directly from the committee might be meeting minutes. So say you have a focus group and there's some feedback or slides that were shared. That's information that you can share along the way for the community to see, too. I don't want to, keep anything. It's all about being as transparent as you possibly can along the way.
Thank you.
So any other questions of me? That's kind of where we are, Dennis. We are going to schedule some more meetings right now. In the short term, I'm going to be working with Jim and Monica to start to populate the website, on the Patterson Farm website, with
Okay.
both the proposal, the RFP that was sent out, some of your prior comments, some other things that we're going to cull through and talk about, the three of us, meaning Jim, myself, and Monica, and start to get that up on the website.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Ron.
You're welcome.
Before we go to public comment, any other business for the committee? Any items that we need to discuss that are not reflected on the agenda? Okay. Hearing none, I'd like to turn to the public comment section, and as we do that, we've referred to this a couple times, but it might be worth just reminding everyone again the three priorities. There's been reference to the three priorities that were recommended to the Board of Supervisors back in March of last year, and they and it was based on those recommendations that the supervisors earmarked the funds necessary to go forward and develop this master plan, which this committee is engaged in doing right now. That March report basically said the Patterson Farm is to remain in agriculture as the top priority use, and any other uses should be designed to accommodate this priority use. That was the number one recommendation from the committee. So I don't see any any wavering in that. The second point.
I think Dennis is frozen.
Should I send him a text or something? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, try that, Ron.
Okay, I'll send him a text.
Not that we're ready to go to it yet, but is there public comment on the line? Okay, well, we'll wait for Dennis to come back, but.
All right, I'm just sending this off. Let me give him a call too.
Ron, if he's lost his internet, sometimes, we just people on speakerphone and,
Yeah.
go old school.
Yeah, let's get here. Let's get, I sent him the text. Let's call him. Dennis, you froze. Okay, I'll tell everybody coming on by phone. You're welcome. Dennis is going to try and come in by phone here, guys.
We're gonna wait till Dennis is back on the phone before we go to public comment. He should be
He
calling in
lost
any
his
second.
Wi-Fi. He's coming in.
Hope his phone's not Wi-Fi.
I hope not.
only, which is by far superior than having a picture of me, I'm sure. Sorry for the interruption. I don't know, my Wi-Fi just died. So my apologies. Should I pick up where I was, or what's our status?
We were holding for you. There is
Yeah.
public comment on the line.
Okay, thank you. Well, I was just saying the third priority that this committee is marching on the basis of is that there has to be productive uses of the buildings by the community or otherwise in order to provide utility that will generate revenue that will support them. Because of, as we see on the farm now, the buildings that don't have a use are deteriorating rapidly. Those couple buildings that are actively used are being maintained. So those are the three principles. And so we're trying to balance of preserving agriculture, preserving historical structures, creating community value and support, and being fiscally responsible with taxpayer money. So that's really what we're marching towards, and the guiding principles for this master plan. And with that, do we have public comments?
Maybe it was you, Dennis.
Maybe I was the only public comment. When I was put in the waiting room, there were 17 people, but that included everybody that was on the Zoom. So I don't know how to calculate that differential. Let's give just a couple minutes. If some people were cut off and they want to try to come back. And while we're waiting for that, looking at our agenda, action items, assignments, and meeting schedule would be our next topic. Action items, clearly Jennifer and I going to the February 15th Board of Supervisors meeting with a recommendation. I will circulate a draft of that recommendation probably over the weekend, hopefully before Super Bowl. Otherwise, nothing will happen. And for the committee to review. So take a look out for that. The meeting's on Wednesday. We'll get that refined. Suzanne, typically, if we're presenting on the Wednesday the 15th, what's kind of the drop dead date to get the materials to the Board of Supervisors for their review?
Sooner is always better than later, but
right.
You know, I understand you'd be
Could
out
it be
of
as late as
commission.
Monday?
It could be.
Yeah.
We would work with you. Something's happening on
Okay.
Sunday that, you know.
Yeah.
Although,
yeah.
Dennis,
Okay.
We already have the proposal from Seiler Drury with the addition of the forward portion of it into a document. And then I was going to put together a memo summarizing your actions tonight, recommending moving forward with the proposal as submitted, striking out the 10,000 for the National Registry portion.
Okay, Jim. Well, if you can draft that and send that around, that would be great. I'll take a look at that and incorporate that into what will be kind of a very short mini presentation to the board. But that would be very helpful.
Yeah, the presentation can be Monday if
yeah.
Super Bowl is a good
Okay. Right. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Jim. Thank you. And as soon as we have materials, that everyone will see it. The committee and the invited stakeholders. Thank you. Were there any other action items coming out of today? Yes, one other one was I will remove draft from the decision-making policies and practices and send that around to committee members to secure their signatures, and we'll make it part of our record. Schedules. Do we have a marking scheduled or on the calendar at this juncture?
Do we have
Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
was the question, do we have another meeting scheduled?
Yes. Is our March public meetings on the calendar yet?
No.
I'm showing,
I
no.
don't think it is, right? Okay. Okay.
Will it be the
So,
second Thursday again?
Yeah, that would be March 9th.
yeah, that would be March 9th. Let's shoot for that. I know Katie's always juggling, time slots, but we were trying to get into a second Thursday rhythm that hopefully is not a problem.
I'll get back to you all on that. Dennis,
Thank you. Yeah, and if we can get the next couple scheduled, and then March and April, and then Jennifer, following the board, the supervisors meeting, under the presumption that we get approval, you'll want to reach out to Doug and start populating calendars with their activities that involve the committee, right? Because there are going to be extraordinary meetings associated with once that project is engaged.
Will do.
I mean,
Okay.
the distributed
Okay.
schedule calls for a kickoff meeting on March 1st.
Is it March 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, my question was, is that a couple of hours? Is that in the evening? How are we thinking about those meetings?
Yeah, let's find out that. I will be in Florida from February 21 to basically March 18. So I'm gone for about a month, but Zooms and phones and things, I don't want. We can't we can't stop progress because somebody's out of town.
March 1st is Board of Supervisors meeting. So the Zoom will be occupied.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah. If this is a full committee meeting, it needs to be a public meeting. Yes. So that's a constraint that the consultants are going to have to manage through. Okay. Okay. So Jennifer, you can work with them, right, to sort out those kinds of issues.
Yeah. And should I assume we're talking evening meetings are best, and I would get a preliminary set of dates and then coordinate with Jim about availability for Zoom, and then we can make it all mesh.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay.
Others speak up, but I'm presuming evening meetings are best, avoiding the working day for actual real full-time jobs, right? So
unless I win lotto. If I win lotto, it'll be available all day.
Okay.
Maybe you should just bet on the Eagles for the Super Bowl, Suzanne, and that'll get you there.
I don't think it'll be free all day. Free for a day.
We could hold maybe we could hold our next meeting at halftime.
Oh, there you go.
That might work. There you go. All right. To our meeting organizers, are there any public comments? Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Please state your name and address, please.
Yes, Laura Tarantino, 185 Durham Road, Newtown.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Further to the discussion of the LMT website and Monica's efforts to post information there, I just wanted to reiterate a suggestion made earlier about signage on the actual farm so that passersby could see it. I think that tool, directing people to the website or something, but making the connection between a master plan and development, not just about the Patterson Farm, check here, would be key. And also any kind of radio public announcements that could be done, I think would also grab, because not everyone, we're all over inundated with information to go online. So if they make the connection that something about this vista may change, you need to look, would be a big plus. That's what I just wanted to offer, and I thank you all for your efforts.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for that idea. We're always open to ideas, and I'm sure Ron and Monica will take that into consideration. I don't know. Is there any reactions anybody wants to provide to that idea of signage or radio kind of tool?
I would just comment briefly, Dennis, that we're looking at using any and all media. I think that's a good thing, and I think that Jim and I and Monica can kick that around as to how we allocate our time to both news releases, radio, and other forms of getting the word out. So I think it's a great idea, radio. That's fine.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other public comment? None at this time. Very good. Well, is there any other business before the committee signs off? All right, hearing none, I really appreciate everybody's time and interest. As I say all the time, I think this is a high impact project. It's an important project, and I'm so pleased to have the talent that we have available on this committee and on these calls. I think we can do something that'll really make a difference. It takes time. It's not always pretty, but I think it'll be fantastic in the end. So thank you all for your efforts. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Supposed to say, go birds, Dennis. Go birds.
Go birds. Okay, you're right.
I'll second the motion.
All right. The motion is seconded. All in favor to adjourn and say go birds. Say aye.
Go birds.
Aye.
Go birds.
Aye. Very good.
Okay.
Night, everyone.
It took the Cowboy fan to say it. Thank you. Thank you.
Go birds.
All right. Go birds.
Bye, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Night.